Welcome back to Lobby Concessionals, the movie podcast where nobody's right and everybody's wrong. I'm Parker. That's Brendan. If you like what we're putting out, like and subscribe. Follow us along. Today we're going to be going over a bad Reddit take. We did this last time with the Batman, and we took a look at comparing that to the Batman versus Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But today I wanted to potentially switch it up. I'll get your take here, Brendan, on what you think this guy is going through.
Going through?
Well, it's there's clearly something wrong. But I'll get your opinion on it,
Okay.
and then we'll go from there.
All right, let's hear it.
So this gentleman says Dicaprio is so completely overrated. As an actor, he's a movie star, which is different than being a great actor. Every DiCaprio film is DiCaprio being DiCaprio as someone else, which I actually think is the description of acting. But I digress. Every DiCaprio film is DiCaprio being DiCaprio as someone else. His acting is basically the same in every role. He's not a bad actor. There's far worse actors. But DiCaprio is just doing his shtick in every role. Audiences eat it up. It rakes in huge money. I don't blame him for doing it, but it's his stick at this point. What do you think?
That's a very bad Reddit take.
Yeah. So I figured since this was very noticeably a horrible opinion, maybe what we try and do this time, instead of just dumping on this guy, because we could, but we could take 15 minutes, chalk that aside, and but I think what we should do instead is try and find an area where
the 1.5 Leo movies that he's watched.
I'm trying to find any Leo movie, or I guess 2 movies where this is true.
Sure.
So, obviously, again, this is clearly a bad take. His performance as Jack Dawson. Dawson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is Dawson. In Titanic is noticeably different than his performance as Hugh Glass in The Revenant, or Calvin Candy in nope, I'm losing it.
You're so close.
Nope. Oh, Django Unchained. There we go. Oh boy. Whew, we had a moment. It's almost like I have notes.
Yeah, but I like that you're not using them.
Truly decided to just walk away.
Okay. So what we're gonna try to defend him, and we're gonna try to find a couple of movies where he might have watched and formed a terrible opinion.
Yeah. And I don't truly think there is. I've got a couple potential ideas. But off the top of your head, what can you think of anything?
I honestly, there's a stretch there where you could argue Aviator, Gatsby, Wolf of Wall Street. So could be similar. There's an argument there.
I would. I don't see it with the Aviator. Well, maybe the Aviator. Sorry. I don't totally see Gatsby and Wolf of Wall Street. I think those are 2 very different people. I think Jay Gatsby is he's a gentleman, you know. Jordan Belfort is not, you know.
But are we talking? Because now we're talking characters, and I think I'm just looking at it performance wise. Where if the argument that he's just Leo in those movies, there's an argument that in the first half of Wolf of Wall Street, he might just be a little too Leo.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Sure.
If we're talking about performance, that's the stretch. It's still a stretch of an argument. But if you watched half of Wolf of Wall Street and maybe some of Gatsby and some of Aviator, yeah, sure.
Maybe. I think the easy comparison for me is Wolf of Wall Street and Catch Me If You Can. Just because I think the 2 of those people and Leo's portrayal of them is entirely based on charisma. So the only reason those people are relatable, those characters are interesting, is because Leo is 150% charisma. That guy is bleeds it. So that's where I see it. Do you get that same level of charisma out of The Aviator? Out of The Great Gatsby?
Maybe in Gatsby, and I think that might be I think it's a weakness of the film, is I think it relies too heavily on Leo to carry that movie.
That's fair. That wouldn't be the only one. I haven't even seen it, to be honest, but I've heard that about J. Edgar. It's the only good thing about that movie.
It's not even a good part of that movie. Like that's a steaming pile.
Yeah, that's this is our official endorsement. Don't watch J. Edgar. Okay. So,
but we're still talking. That's still a 3-4 movie stretch in like 6 years. So if this guy's still discounting just about everything that guy did in the 90s and the early 2000s.
Correct. And later 2000s, right? Like the last of those 3 films is Wolf, correct?
Yeah.
And I believe Wolf is 2011.
Maybe 2012.
2012.
Yeah.
So like, so we've still got a decade of Leo films that this guy has missed, you know?
Yeah, or maybe he's talking about somebody else.
Okay, let me be clear, though. He says DiCaprio in this 8 times. Like, he's very clear that this is, he is talking about Leonardo DiCaprio.
I guess so. I guess, maybe he's never watched Man in the Iron Mask. That tour de force.
The next one I see, potentially, or the one that we sort of haven't mentioned, because I think that the thing that really ties those performances and those characters together is the charisma side. So Gatsby, Wolf of Wall Street, Catch Me If You Can, Aviator. He's a charismatic person. Granted, those are supposed to be charismatic characters. You know, they are supposed to. Yeah. So I think that's the big thing. The other side we haven't really looked at is, or the other comparison potentially is, I could see maybe there being an argument for The Departed and Shutter Island. And part of that is just because they're both cops, right? Like, he's supposed to be playing investigators, or so there's a little bit of a hard-boiled.
Yeah. Is it a bigger picture problem? Is it a Scorsese problem? Is it like, it's not a problem. Don't.
Yeah. Don't at me.
Yeah. Is it Aviator? Obviously, we're looking at Aviator, Shutter Island, Departed, Wolf of Wall Street, and if we're looking at Leo does the same things, well, is it
is it Marty?
It's not.
It's definitely not Scorsese. I think that.
But is this guy confusing tone of film and direction and all that stuff as Leo not trying?
Tone, I don't see for sure. Direction, maybe. But again, like, Shutter Island and Wolf of Wall Street are diametrically opposed. Like, those movies are nothing alike at all. So I don't see it for that. Maybe with these 2 in particular, Departed and Shutter Island, it's a tone and a feeling created by Marty's direction.
Yeah.
And then the kind of stories Marty likes to direct. I think that's the other thing, is that, sure, Marty has a type. You know, like, he knows what he's doing, and he knows he's targeting a particular type of story.
Yeah,
so, you know, I think one of the big things that's worth bringing up as well is, and again, not to dunk on this guy exactly, but there is 4 outliers to me, 4 characters that I've seen, and then I think actually all happen to be, they're all very recent or fairly recent, but that I can't find anything that truly matches.
Okay.
So the first is Calvin Candy,
sure.
Django Unchained. Yeah. My understanding was Leo had a very hard time with this movie because, like, he had a hard time saying the N-word.
Wow.
Which I guess Jamie Foxx treated it as, hey man, that means you're a good person. You know, like, if this is a hard word for you to say, no big deal. And Sam Jackson looked at him and it's just like motherfucker, let's go. So Sam wasn't putting up with any of that. Hugh Glass from The Revenant. I just don't see that as a traditional Leo character. In particular, because he gets wrecked by a bear. Sure.
You're going to bring up that bear every podcast. Every episode.
Everyone. Because it's incredible. Thirdly, Rick Dalton, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Absolutely.
Shout out to my boy. And I think that's because he's in some ways supposed to be playing a kind of a version of himself, a washed up movie star, right?
Sure.
So, and then the last one, and this is tough because I have a little bit of a hard time with this movie as a thing, but his performance is still amazing. Dr. Randall Mindy in Don't Look Up. Now, I don't think you've seen this, correct?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, just to give you a quick rehash, or what I like about this character is he's a loser. He's a nerdy scientist loser. There is a great scene very early on where he's supposed to be meeting people and he has a panic attack in a bathroom, and it is so not Leo. I've never seen him do something with this minimal confidence before, and he's a mess, And so, from my point of view, those four in themselves, if we found something to match any of those four performances, I think there's maybe an argument here.
Well, I think it's even tougher. I think if you go back and you look, and I know he has a reputation of being a teen heartthrob, but if you look at his teen heartthrob movies, none of those are the same either, right? If you think about Romeo and Juliet to Titanic, to The Beach, to Man in the Iron Mask, none of those movies are the same. None of those roles are the same.
Yeah.
Right? And then before that, you had Basketball Diaries and What's Eating Gilbert Grape, which are even further from that teen heartthrob. So I like the whole point of Leo is that he's built a career on evolution and picking roles that aren't the same.
Yeah, totally.
So the guy missed the point of his entire career. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And it's tough. If this guy's watched like 3 or 4 Leo movies, and even if you watch the 4 that I don't have a good argument. Like we're sitting here and we're going to try to defend him, but you just named his 4 most recent movies.
Correct.
Or close to his 4 most recent movies.
Yeah, I couldn't give you his whole filmography, but that would be like those all happened in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So
so even if he did that, like we can't find the thing. And you mentioned earlier talking about him doing like policey detective roles or whatever like that. The Departed and Inception are not the same movie.
They are not. They are not. Well, and so like Departed, Shutter Island. I've never actually seen Body of Lies. Is he a cop in that?
He's a government agent. Okay,
so sort of copy. Maybe Blood Diamond. I think he's a reporter in Blood Diamond.
Yeah.
And very clearly like a renegade out for himself, you know, I don't care kind of reporter who we discover has a bit of a heart of gold. But how could he not? Look at Leo. Anyway, so like maybe those movies sort of grouped together is cop stuff or like investigator stuff.
Yeah.
And so like again, maybe she being able to say these are similar simply from that point of view.
Yeah, but that's such surface level stuff.
Oh,
right. So like what he's reaching for here, it has nothing to do with Leo's acting skills.
Yeah,
which he's just absolutely shitting on.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, he says every DiCaprio film is DiCaprio being DiCaprio as someone else, which again is the definition of acting. So
I mean, and we had talked about this in the Tom Cruise episode.
Mm-hmm.
Where you wanted to give Tom the Oscar for Magnolia because he was not like Tom Cruise.
Correct. Sure.
And I wanted to give him an Oscar for Jerry Maguire because he was peak Tom Cruise. Because if you're going to give somebody an award for being the best version of themselves, that right?
Yeah.
So
enough.
and so again, and then we talked about Leo, and obviously you and the bear. So you always think Revenant, he deserves the Revenant one.
Oh yeah,
but it's still a gimme. It was still a payback Oscar for a decade's worth of work.
Yeah, or 2 decades.
Or 2 decades. Again, yeah. So I don't have a defense for the guy.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna dunk on him. to his face. But that's a horrendous take.
Yeah, like, again, if you watched part of Catch Me If You Can, or The Aviator, or Wolf of Wall Street, maybe.
Yeah. Again, the argument would be if you watched the first part of Wolf of Wall Street and then like spliced in the back half of like The Aviator, I'd buy the idea that maybe the beats are the same.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You would have to really got lost on your phone while watching these movies, though. Like,
yeah. So unfortunately, this guy, I think he's a lost cause.
yeah, I think it's irredeemable. Well, we tried. We did our best.
We did. We talked through it, man. Like we gave you a shot at it. But that's and I think you didn't do yourself any favors by using the word shtick.
Shtick multiple times. Yeah. Because he's not a shticky actor.
No. I also take a little bit of umbrage to the idea that he thinks that Leo movies make a ton of money. I think that he's relied on to bring in a certain amount of money to make those movies profitable, but he's by no way means I think a blockbuster type in terms of the dollar value that he brings in.
Well, I would say you compare him to Chris Pratt, even, But seriously, though, like, I think Chris Pratt, as much as he has been overused quite a lot, I think he's a bankable star. A lot of people really do like him, and I think that there is appeal there. Yeah. Maybe Ryan Reynolds is a better example of, again, someone that's a fairly bankable star, or at least was. There might be a little bit of with both of those actors, there might be a bit of a people might be getting tired a little bit of them, or there was a period where they were getting tired of them for a few years.
No, we're still tired of them.
Yeah, I am. That's what I mean. So like, there hasn't been a lot of Chris Pratt or Ryan Reynolds movies in the last few years. Granted, pandemic, but like still,
yeah.
Actually,
I think Ryan put out like 3 movies during the pandemic. So
what?
Free Guy, and then the Red Notice.
Oh yeah. Okay, no, he's definitely still a big star. Absolutely. So yeah, you look at. I think you're right. You compare Leo to someone like Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
They're not pulling in the same numbers.
But they're also not making the same movie. So like, again, we talked about this before. Leo, Leo's depended on to make good movies that make money.
Yep. Absolutely.
And those other guys, and not to take any kind of credit away from them, they're to make money.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah. Yeah, Ryan's there to have fun.
Yeah.
He very noticeably makes movies that I think he would enjoy watching.
Yeah.
He's an
if we took this
guy.
Reddit take and took out Leo's name and put Ryan Reynolds or Chris Pratt in there, it's defensible.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Like that's pretty much a slam dunk.
Yeah.
Like that's no problem.
Yeah.
Chris Pratt's been Star-Lord for a decade.
Ugh.
I don't even think he's been making movies for a decade. He's been doing TV, but like, I'm just saying. Yeah. I think that's basically it.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thanks for taking a swing at this terrible, terrible take.
Yeah. And we'll make sure he lives in anonymity.
Yeah. If you guys have any takes that you want us to tackle or think we're wrong, let us know in the comments. We're looking forward to hearing from you.